Welcome to Not Ashamed. I'm your host, Ashley Nordman, and today I'm here with special guest, Jason Theobald. Jason, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that we can talk today because I have 1.5 million questions. But why don't we start with you introducing yourself, who you
Sure.
are, what you do. I know you have like an extensive background, so I figured you can tell everybody what
Yeah.
you're about.
Okay. Let's see. I've been in the coaching industry probably about 15 plus years. I own Scooby Health. We're a functional nutrition business coaching company, but a lot of my stuff is now functional health, autoimmune disease, gut issues, Crohn's, colitis, things like that. We got about 13 coaches on the roster as well that can help. I also am a co-owner of New Ethics Formulations. It's a functional health supplement company. And then I'm co-owner in Advanced Vitality, HRT. We're an anti-aging hormone clinic. And then I'm also co-owner in Caboodle, which is a coaching app that has diet capability. You can build your diets, track your clients, but also a full CRM. So, you can manage payments, send out emails, all that. And that's on a slow launch right now, but we're very excited about it. And then I do have Scooby U under Scooby Health, where I teach other coaches like a process to work tough cases and bring them along. It's a 4-month course, and I think we're on our 10th group now, and usually we have about 30 or 40 in that. So exciting times, lots going on, and I guess I just feel blessed to do what I do and to have the knowledge I have. So I think that's mostly things I do.
That's awesome. You're literally a one-stop shop when it comes to fitness
Yes.
and health, which I love because from a business standpoint, it's very smart. And
Yep.
my viewers might not know this, but I'm actually a client of yours and I'm working with you currently, and we do
Yep.
nutrition coaching. I also work with Advanced Vitality because that's where I get my peptides that I take.
Yep.
And I use New Ethics supplements as well. So I'm kind of like an advocate for everything that you
Yeah.
do. And I
Yeah.
stand behind everything that you put your name on because I know that at the end of the day, like you are not only probably the most caring person I've ever worked with in terms of,
Thank you.
you're welcome, in terms of just like my well-being and making sure I see my results and like putting me in check when I need you to, but also because I really respect you. I mean, you have
Thank you.
so much education, knowledge behind you, and obviously, like I said, you care so much, and you literally helped me with bodybuilding 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
coached me through bodybuilding. I
Yeah.
almost became pro without,
Yeah.
you know, really having to grind for years and years on end because you could get my body there quickly.
Yeah.
And then now I've had you help me throughout the years with all my health stuff. So it's been kind of a crazy journey, and it's so cool to see you evolve as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You as well. I mean, I know you got your skincare line and all the things you do, and now your podcast. So, yeah, it's cool. I didn't realize it's been 10 years, but you're correct. It's been 10 years since we first linked up. So,
Yeah, I think it was literally like
13,
2014 or
14,
15,
something like that.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, so long ago now.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Okay, so I have a lot of questions for you,
Yeah.
clearly, because my supporters, the ladies that follow me and that listen, that tune in, like they have so many questions all the time about health, fitness, weight loss, hormones. I mean, you name it, they're asking it because they've seen me go through all of it. They've seen me share this with my own journey. And then I feel like too, like a lot of people do trust me because they know that I'm only going to work with people that are the best. And so that's one reason like I really needed you to come on my podcast because I trust what you do and how you approach things, and people really need to hear the way that you look at the body and how you help people heal,
Yep.
because there's not a lot of people or enough people in my opinion doing what you're doing.
Agreed.
And so I think, hopefully in the next 10 years, like we'll make a lot more headway. But people
We
like
will.
you are really making the change here, especially when it comes to female hormones. Because for me, I've had hormone issues for years, and I finally now feel like this is the best I've ever been, like hormonally balanced, my thyroid's in check, things like that.
Yep.
But for people who are struggling, what would you say are like the main signs and symptoms, I guess, that you see in women that have hormone imbalances?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, all right. So a lot of times you're going to see brain fog. So, searching for words, just kind of feeling kind of out of it, you're going to a lot of times experience puffiness. So like inflammation, maybe your eyes, your face, belly, could be your whole entire body. A lot of times you'll have constipation, it starts to affect digestion. Acne can come about when you have imbalances. Weight gain can come about when you have imbalances. Periods can be off. That's a telltale sign. So either they cease or, they're getting longer or shorter. Both can happen. That progesterone estrogen ratio gets off. What else? Hair loss is another one when hormones are out of balance. I'd say those are probably the top 8 that you really kind of need to watch for and be aware of.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be all 8. Obviously, it could be a couple of them, one of them.
Yeah, that's correct. It doesn't have to be all 8. Not everyone gets all those things. But if you have a combination of a few, in you're stressed or pushing your body hard and things like that, most likely you probably need to start getting a look at your hormones. And people go to their PCP. Nothing against Western medicine. We need it. If I got shot or in a car wreck, that's what I would need to do. But a lot of times the PCP is going to look at your CMP. They're going to look at your CBC. They're really not even going to look at your hormones. They're not going to look at the thyroid right. They don't run the right tests. And then a lot of times they tell these women they're okay. And there's, this part of life, deal with it. And so then they end up with me. So there's a fuller slew of labs that you really need to look at more than what Western medicine is going to look at if you go present with those issues.
Absolutely. And I know they also look at different, ranges than what really matters.
If you're in so let's take a woman's free testosterone. That's the amount that their body's going to actually feel. So total really doesn't tell you much. You could have a great total, be it like top range, like 60 nanograms per deciliter, and your free is 0.2. Well, the range for the free test is 0 to 4.2. So they literally will tell a woman you can be 0 on your free test, meaning they're not getting any bioavailable test, and that gets a thumbs up. So even a 0.1, 0.2 will get a thumbs up. You're fine. You're in range. Well, the range is 0. Like, how is that? Right. How is that? So yeah, what I do is look for optimal, and what they do is just make sure you're in a range and then say you're fine. And so many times that is not fine, and there are issues going on, but the patient gets sent away with, hey, you're fine.
Right. Okay. So if people are feeling like they have hormonal imbalances or, showing those signs and symptoms, like you mentioned, they've gone to their primary, they're not really getting anywhere, but they decide to find someone like you who's into functional medicine that has other approaches that can help them kind of look at it from a holistic view. What's the first thing you're going to do with them to try to help get their hormones into a better place? Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, if someone comes in the door, I have extensive forms that I look at to kind of get an idea of maybe what I might need to look at in terms of hormones. And so I do a full evaluation of the gut, their metabolic stresses on their entire system. And then a lot of the things that we talked about early on with hormone issues, I have a checklist, and they can check things off and say, yep, I have these, I have these. And from there, then I know kind of about what type of panel I really need to request. So my next step then, if they have those issues and I'm hired, is to get that panel that I need to start really analyzing, okay, well, here's the symptoms. How can I match it up on what's going on? And then how do we go about balancing and fixing those issues?
Okay, that makes sense. So you make sure, obviously, test, don't guess. You're doing lab work, making sure you're really finding out exactly what's going on, because every woman, I'm sure, coming to you is different. Yeah. And
they are.
For me, I've never had testosterone issues ever. And that's probably kind of rare, because I know there's a lot of women that actually do have testosterone issues and don't realize it. For me, it's always like my progesterone. It's just so low, and then it throws my estrogen off and makes me estrogen dominant. Correct. And that's going to always be my thing. Like when I'm not in a good place, that's where my body likes to go. But my testosterone is never an issue. I don't get acne on my jawline. I'm not getting hair in weird places. I'm not having hair loss. I'm not feeling super low energy in terms of like pushing weights in the gym. I hold muscle well.
All that, right.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of women like that I talk to actually do have testosterone issues. And I'm sure a lot of them don't realize it because they just think of testosterone and they think of men. They don't think of it being like important for them.
Technically, not technically, but it's true. Women have more testosterone than they have estrogen
Really?
in their body. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
The estrogen number is higher because it's a different measurement. But technically speaking, you still have more testosterone than you have estrogen.
Okay, I had no idea.
And when that drops out, you become hugely estrogen dominant. Add to the fact that when you stress, your body favors cortisol over progesterone. So now you're massively estrogen dominant. You don't have enough androgens and your progesterone's gone. And that's the yin, the yang to your estradiol. And unfortunately, as stress goes up, the body, it's just a survival mechanism. At one point in time, we lived in a type of society where, it was feast and famine. So as stress came up, because they were not being fed, that was a way to basically say, you're not gonna be able to get pregnant. So the progesterone drops, and then you're not having babies when it's a time of famine. So it's a way to control that. Obviously, we don't live that way anymore, but it's still the same thing. You get stressed, progesterone drops, and now you're estrogen dominant. And so we see women not sleeping well, anxiety ensues, and sometimes it does cause acne to be estrogen dominant. The sebaceous glands can be overproductive, and then you do get those issues with the estrogen dominance. You'll get like belly fat, usually a lot more. The hips will start expanding. Legs will start getting more cottage cheese look to them. That's all being estrogen dominant.
Yeah, I feel like that's the first thing that I notice when I start going into that like estrogen dominant place is like my belly, my hips.
Yep. Exactly.
I just feel like watery.
Exactly.
My boobs will hurt really bad. Like before my period comes,
all signs.
And I will get acne. It's weird, but it's like in different places. Like if I had testosterone issues, I feel like it'd be like lower.
Along the jawline.
Yeah, I get mine like it's usually like my forehead or like higher up on my cheeks or something, or like my back or something like that.
Yeah, that's less. It's more androgenic to be along the jawline. So you're correct. So, when those things happen and you were talking about how the boobs ache, you'll normally see periods get heavier too. And that's another telltale sign that you're not making enough progesterone and you're becoming estrogen dominant because those periods are getting heavier and crampier. And so women can look at that and say, oh, okay, I'm going the wrong way. And they really, if they think about it, can start to see, okay, God, my stress has been a lot worse the last 2 months. I'm heading the wrong direction, Yeah. So there's definitely telltale signs. Our body always leaves signals. It's just, are we listening? Are we in tune? And do we care enough to correct it?
Okay, so with hormones, obviously, there's a couple other things that I think of here, like thyroid, which is big, blood sugar levels, diabetes, that kind of stuff. So tell me more about or what else? Sorry?
Cortisol.
Oh, yeah, and cortisol.
Always looked at. I always look at that.
Tell me a little more about the thyroid with women.
Yeah. So first and foremost, thyroid issues are more of a symptom. They are not a direct cause, meaning that something else is usually going on causing the thyroid to have problems. So my job is to figure that out. Is it just hormone down regulation? Because as testosterone tanks, progesterone tanks, that can affect your thyroid. Or is it like mineral deficiencies? Do you have gut issues and maybe you're not digesting well? Maybe there's leaky gut, other things going on. And so you're not getting the minerals you need, like selenium, zinc, vitamin A, to fuel the thyroid. So usually if someone is lower so for me, lower would be under 3.2 on your free T3. So Western medicine usually don't even look at free T3. They look at TSH and T4. Well, T4 has to convert to T3, and T3 is the active hormone that fuels your metabolism. So why in the world they don't look at it is beyond me, and why that's still going on, I have no idea. So if you're using a PCP, you've probably never even seen your free T3. That's the amount that is bioactive to fuel your metabolism. It needs to be 3.2 or better. Now, they let you go down to 2.2, but once you're in the twos, that's sluggish. And then anything under 2.2, you're clinically low. But it's usually there's something else going on. So I don't like to jump right away to meds. I like to use our ThyroBoost Plus under New Ethics. That's why we made it. And then I support and try to dig in and figure out what's the root cause here. And so if someone has like very low progesterone, very low testosterone, they're probably having issues convert T4 to T3. ThyroBoost will help a bit to get it up while I'm working the case and getting them fed so they don't gain body fat. But the real crux is to find the root cause and fix that, and then they don't have to be on ThyroBoost forever. But I don't like jumping right to thyroid meds right away because it's not usually the cause. It's a symptom of something else going on. And that's my job to dig in and find out and fix.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't have Hashimoto's, then it's probably something from lifestyle. And like for me, I have hypothyroidism, but I do not have Hashimoto's. And I have never really figured out exactly what it is. I mean, I work with a functional doctor here in St. Louis and I work with you, and I don't think we'll ever know exactly, but I'm sure the years of just all the chronic stress, putting my body through what I did with bodybuilding, being so insanely lean for long periods of time, which was my choice, not yours. And also the fact that like, I mean, I was on birth control pills for 10 plus years. So it just shut my body down in terms of my hormone.
Let's talk about birth control. It zaps B vitamins, it zaps selenium, it zaps zinc. All those are vital to running your thyroid. And so when you're depleted of those, the Western medicine should at least say, hey, you're going on birth control. You're going to need a B complex. You're going to need selenium. You're going to need zinc. You're going to need vitamin C. That would help prevent that downregulation, but no one says that. And then adding that zinc too would help that testosterone downregulation that also eventually happens with birth control. Not to mention birth control literally puts you into an estrogen dominant state. I mean, that's how it works. It drops your progesterone to 0.1, 0.2. And so when you run labs on any woman on birth control, they are estrogen dominant. Like that's just what it does. No one explains this. At least if they would explain it, women could say, okay, I get it. This is messing with my hormones. You know, it's just handed out like it's okay and it doesn't cause any problems. And that's farthest from the truth. So it definitely could be something along those lines. Now with you, we could obviously do a hair mineral test. We could dig in and see if there's other minerals that are out, things like that. There are other things we can do. But yeah, thyroid is usually a symptom. Now Hashimoto's, as you brought up, that is an autoimmune condition. And so Hashis will make you hyperthyroid. It basically, your body is attacking the thyroid gland. It senses that it marks it as an invader. And so to test that, you want to look at your TPO-AB markers. And I always get that as just a steady practice too, because there's so many people with it. There's 3 buckets to helping that. There's stress, inflammation, and your gut. There's usually leaky gut with an AI disease. There's always stress and then inflammation. If you can stamp out those 3 buckets, I can get relief from the autoimmune disease, no matter what it is. I help, I don't want to use the word treat because I can't, but I help people with, you know, ulcerative colitis. I use the same thing. I got to stamp out stress. I got to stamp out inflammation. I got to fix the leaky gut. If you can control those buckets for your client, you can get good results with almost any autoimmune condition that you deal with.
Yeah. And that's like why you always remind me in my check-ins, you're like, hey, you got to monitor these things. Cause now that I have eczema, which I found out was like an autoimmune thing.
It is.
I have to stay on top of it with my gut and with my stress and just managing
and your
everything.
inflammation and all those things.
Yeah. I've got my
And if
fish
you do
oil.
that, it should stay at bay. And if it starts to creep in, we know that you're slipping in one of those areas. So it's like, hey, what's going on? And you know, you're very in tune, and then we readjust. But those areas can be worked on. Autoimmune conditions don't have to stay, but it is a lot of hard work, and it does take a process to work through those 3 buckets.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, because there was a period of time when I hadn't worked with you where I was working with a clinic here, but I had done blood work and I checked for like autoimmunity, and my ANA like came back positive. And so I had like a speckled pattern, and it was like along the line of like lupus, RA kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And my titer, which I think is like the ratio for it or something, it was like 180 to something. It was like sky high.
Yep.
And this was probably 2018 or 19. So a couple years after I had completely quit
All the
like
shows
bodybuilding.
and all that. Yep.
Yeah. And I was trying to get like all my inflammation and stuff under control.
Yep.
And so I basically put my body into like an autoimmune like state.
Yep.
But then within like a year, I retested and all of that was normal.
Yep.
And I was like shocked. I didn't know that if you have like autoimmune symptoms, you can actually like reverse it through your lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle disease. And that's the problem. So I just helped a woman with ulcerative colitis. She literally had a 7,000 plus on her fecal cow protein, which is the highest a doctor had ever seen. He told her, you need to prepare to lose your colon.
Oh my God.
We literally just got her calprotectin to 23. and she just had her appointment. And when she went to the doctor and said, I'm working with this functional guy, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use BPC, LDN. He's having me stress control. He's fixing because she had SIBO. And a lot of people with ulcerative colitis have that. So we fixed that, got the leaky gut. We got it down to 23. She's literally in remission. And she went back to talk to the doctor, and he's like, okay. She said he was taking a page of notes and asked for my name. But he did say, he's like, most people won't go through that process. Maybe not. But I mean, if you're about to lose your colon, I think most people would go through a lot of things. And it wasn't that horrible of a process. So yeah, pretty much any autoimmune condition can be controlled with lifestyle, but it takes work. And some, you got to be willing to do it. You got to be able to change your diet, change your stress, all these different things. But a lot of times with autoimmunity, I use low dose naltrexone, which helps in so many different conditions. It stamps out that inflammation piece, especially if you got a big stressor and they just can't completely get out of their head and things. It helps them with that inflammation because stress leads to that. So we use some low dose naltrexone at the clinic. And
can you talk a little bit more about that? Because you have me on it now too, and my doctor was actually like, wow, I love that you're taking that, because she knows I'm a great candidate for it with all my history with gut issues and stuff and my autoimmune. Yeah.
So technically speaking, in higher doses, 50 to 100 mgs, they use it to get people off opioids, alcohol, etc. In a very tiny dose, 4.5 mgs, it's amazing for lowering inflammation. And so what this does is it pulls all this inflammation out of the body, but it also helps rebuild the gut lining. So perfect for most autoimmune conditions, right? Because I said leaky gut's one of them and inflammation's another. So it's like a 2-in-1. Not only that, it's anti-aging. If you have inflammation low, you are not going to age as fast. So I take 4.5 mgs, and I'm going to do that forever. My CRP is like 0.16, which is an inflammatory marker.
Yeah.
So, and if you control inflammation, you can have higher cholesterol, but it's not going to plaque. That's what causes arteries to plaque, is the inflammation, not the cholesterol. So you don't need these freaking statins that cause problem with your hearts, and they zap CoQ10. So but the reason you don't hear about it is because it's no longer under patent. You can't patent it anymore. It's been around 20 years. So no pharmacy can write a patent around it and say, hey, this is good for lupus. This is good for GI. This is good for that. They can't make any money on it. So there's not going to be any studies. But I use it for lupus. I use it for Hashis. I mean, it's an amazing, plus it pulls down anxiety. So my head is so much clearer now. It doesn't have those voices in it all the time. And that's also how it turns off and lets people get lower inflammation. But what it does, it actually turns off the opioid receptors. And when it turns those off, that causes your body to make more of them. So it calms you, and it's endorphin release. So it's like exercise in a bottle. So I got off my SSRI on it too. I don't need it. I don't need it anymore. I just take that. So anyone out there who wants to just do a little research, it's low dose naltrexone. You're going to find tons of benefits on it. You can get onto PubMed. They've done tons of studies on different things with it, with autoimmune conditions, gut conditions. So we use it at our clinic because we believe in functional medicine and getting to the root cause, and that really, really helps a lot of these cases. So.
Yeah, and I really like it because I feel like the side effects are like essentially slim to none. I mean, the only thing I get is sometimes like when I first started it, I had like the really vivid dreams, which you had told me about. And I was like, actually, I don't really mind that because they're not like weird dreams. They're just like really like I remember them.
Well, to me, that means you're getting in deeper sleep.
Yeah.
And so that is also going to help insulin resistance, right? If you're deep in sleep, if you got your inflammation's down, you're going to have less insulin resistance. You can help metabolic syndrome with it. So it's got a lot of things. There's a whole 3-volume book on it. I'm looking up, I haven't read volume 3, but it's right here, the LDN book, and there's 3 volumes to it. And it talks about all the things that it can help with. This one is about long COVID, mold toxicity, cancer, because cancer starts as inflammation. And then your cells get senescent, and then senescent cells are like zombie cells. The hormones don't talk. So that can cause thyroid issues too, because the hormones are no longer talking to the cells. It can clear all those things out and get those cells out of that inflammation at that cellular level. So pretty powerful stuff, and works great. And I think your eczema has been doing really well, right?
Yeah, I've not had one flare up at all. And I just feel better. I mean, I have a little knee issue I'm dealing with that I've been dealing with for years. But outside of that, like, I just feel like my joints and everything, I just can notice a difference. You know, you just know when you wake up and you feel kind of achy and when you don't.
Yep.
And I definitely, like, in the month I've just been back on low dose naltrexone, I noticed a huge difference already. And
Yep.
like you said, in my sleep alone, that's helped so much. My Aura Ring is like so happy.
Yep.
So I'm happy.
Yep. Yep. So anyone out there, you suffering from these conditions, it is not going to be that silver bullet only where you can just take that. I mean, it will help, but like you still got to deal with your stress and you still got to eat right. I mean, I've got Ash eating, Mediterranean style, lots of good healthy fats, things like that. So all that has to be managed, but you add that little bit to it. And a lot of times it's that missing piece for people, especially with autoimmune conditions.
Yeah. So low dose naltrexone, I would say, is probably something that's more in like the functional
It is.
medicine world only.
A lot of doctors don't know about it. And when my clients they want to try to put it on their insurance, they go to their doctor will script them the 50 mgs to 100. I'm like, no, that's not what we need. That's wrong. That's for getting off opioids and alcohol. I just need the 4.5 low dose. And they don't really know about it because, again, who leads Western medicine? The big players, Eli Lilly, all these farm companies. Well, they can't make money from it. So they're not going to be informing the medical community about it. So unless you get a doctor who's really up on something, a lot of times they don't even know what the hell I'm saying and why I'm saying it.
We'll get back to the podcast in just a moment. This episode is sponsored by AN Skin, your answer for all things skincare and beauty. Our medical-grade products, made in the USA, use high-quality ingredients and are clinically proven to give you clear, healthy, youthful skin. Everything is cruelty-free. Visit anskinbeauty.com to shop now and regain your confidence. Now, back to the episode.
So would you say like this is why you got more into the functional medicine world, because you saw a need and like your clients that you had been helping through bodybuilding and fitness like needed that next level of care?
Here's why I did it. I noticed that with my men, I was a bodybuilding coach, macro bodybuilding coach. Every year my men would want to diet again, no problem. Every year my women wanted to diet again, it was going to be 50-50 whether their body was going to respond. And I did everything right. I put them through refeeds. I tried to control cardio, but still at the end of the day, if you want to get stage lean, it's not going to be super healthy for a female.
Right.
And I'm like, why can't they respond? Like, what is going on here? And it was driving me nuts. And then I got a client who, she had developed lupus. I didn't know how to handle it. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this with people if I don't know how to fix them. It didn't sit right morally. Mm-hmm. So that's when I I went to Minneapolis. I studied at a chiropractor college under a doctor and learned what inflammation does to the body. What do you need to do? How do you read labs? All those things, because I just felt like I was part of the problem, not part of the solution. So.
Well, I think that's really intuitive of you, because you're like me, like you're willing to pivot and change when you start
100%.
seeing something like it works until it doesn't, and it was working and it was working. And then you started seeing that there were things where like the wheels are falling off and you wanted to know how to actually help people
100%.
or put them through that.
Yep.
And so over the years, what would you say, based on like women, especially, what are like some mistakes, maybe even things that you've made or things that they've made when they come to you that you're like, okay, hold on, we got to like rein it in here because this is actually hurting you instead of helping you with your weight loss? Yeah.
So here's the deal. If you get to the point where your old things aren't working, what everyone does is, well, if 100 calories isn't working, I'm going to eat 12. And if 2 hours of cardio isn't working, then I must need to do 3. It's not going to work. At that point, your body's too inflamed. If what you were doing is not working, something has downregulated. And a lot of times what happens is we do a diet, we lost a little bit of muscle. When we come off the diet, we don't do it right in terms of getting muscle back up. A lot of times you put on body fat, then you diet again. Now you've lost more muscle. You keep losing muscle on these diets, and basically your BMR is getting pushed down every time, till it gets to the point where inflammation is super high. It might even be down at the cellular level, and that causes your mitochondria to not kick over to burning fat. It's just looking for sugars. You're stuck. And so at that point, what you need to do is the absolute opposite. I rest you. I flush out the body. And I might have you doing just yoga and walking for the first 2 weeks. I lower inflammation big time. So if your body is basically not responding to what normally works, and you had a time off where you ate, in a surplus and it's not working, something else is going on. And for you to just keep pushing harder, yeah, you might see the scale drop, but if you really are honest with yourself, you're probably noticing that each time you get to say 115, it's not as good as your 115 was the first time you did it. And each time you do that, if you keep pushing, you're just going to keep hollowing yourself out, and your BMR is just getting lower and lower. And then it gets to the point where your body's stuck only looking for sugars. It's not switching over to fat burning, and you're inflamed at the cellular level. And now we've got to unravel all this. And that's what I do with my processes. And the first thing I do is rest, work on sleep, work on stress reduction, restorative yoga daily, walking, no weight training. And with my flush, I can get calories up very quickly without putting weight on you. And I need to do that because what the biggest mistake macro coaches make is they get these people and they just 20 carb them every time they check in. And then before you know it, they're up another 15 pounds. And that's when they come find me. So I use a process where I actually put the protein very low because most people are overeating it. I change out all your proteins to fish because most people eat a lot of chicken and eggs. I use a lot of fruits, a lot of veggies, and even some fruit juice. And I get your calories up to about 2,100. And even if you're at 1,100, you'll drop weight. Because I basically am increasing the endocrine system doing this. I use a few of our products, Optipure, which cranks the liver, Metapure, which lowers inflammation. And once I have you now at 2,100 and you're actually down 3 or 4 pounds, I can work the case now and get you rested up before we would ever go back in. And while I'm keeping you well fed, I'm working hormones, I'm looking at labs. Do I got to fix the gut? All these things are happening now, but I've got your body less inflamed, on more food, resting more, and doing the exact opposite of what you were doing.
Yeah, your approach is so different because, I mean, obviously you can go to any nutrition coach and they can just be like, okay, let's start you at 1,500 calories, follow this for 2 weeks, let's reassess. But I love your program with the flush because that's what I did when I first began with you. And I felt so good because it's Mediterranean style, low inflammation, easy to digest. You're getting in all these nutrients. I love your Metapure and Optipure. Those products are incredible and they taste really good too, which I think people are surprised by. Like, it's actually very good tasting. It's like a protein powder essentially, right? But it's not.
It is. It's got so it's got 17 grams of protein, and then it's chock full of everything you need to lower inflammation and push your detox pathways. A lot of times with these cases, they aren't removing toxins well anymore either. So you've got toxic buildup in the gut. You've got things built up in the gut like lipopolysaccharides just from digesting and the bacteria in your gut. And we're just cranking all that through. The Optipure really pushes the liver and through its phases of detox. And so we're pushing out inflammation. We're cranking on the liver. We've got your food up. Usually if a woman doesn't have a period, like 50% of the time, it almost comes back during the flush. And because they're resting, they're getting fed, they're getting all the vitamins and minerals they need that they haven't had. If you look at Metapure, we never filed it as a medical food, but we could. I mean, that's what it is. And so, it doubles as a protein powder, but also as that product to really detox the body and push things through. So
yeah, it's awesome. And I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of detoxing and how crucial that is for your weight loss and just for like your overall health. I mean,
it's very, very important when you're dealing with someone who has functional issues. Like if someone's super healthy and like all their forms come back super clean, I don't always do it. But when you have all these different problems, you've got to get that liver cranking and everything because your estrogen leaves the body that way too. And a lot of these women are estrogen dominant. So it's all backed up. And once you open that up, that weight comes down because now they're moving that estrogen out of the body. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was on my brain and I wanted to get that out. So
no, you're fine because that is important. And I just think a lot of times people don't think of that. They just think, it's their, they just think of their metabolism and like the food they're eating and how much cardio they're doing. They're not thinking of like, am I actually sweating? Like, is my body actually getting this out through my kidneys, my liver, my colon, like all those things. It's so important. And I just love that you like approach it from all angles because not only does it help get your body kind of in like a nice reset, but it addresses every area so that nothing's getting overlooked. And it's a much different approach, like I said, because most people out there that are going to start helping you with weight loss don't attack it in that way, but clearly it works because you have a system and you know what works with your people and you're going to do it's not exactly the same for like me as it is going to be for another woman or another man because my body's different. My BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, like all those things
are different.
But still like the basis of it, like what works, and that is going to help people because most of us are not getting enough omegas, we're not getting enough fruit, and antioxidants. We're not resting like we need to. Like we're overdoing
And a
it.
lot of people get stuck eating the same foods. And
Yes.
so your microbiome needs diversity, and just switching foods out to a more diverse diet, to things that you don't normally eat, can help bring up the good bacteria that you actually need or may be low in. And even that can break through weight loss resistance. Just that alone is one strategy. So I do that immediately. And that's why I do a lot of fish, because most people don't, but it's a medical protein. It's like you were talking about, it's super high in omega-3s, which is going to bring that inflammation down really fast. I use wild caught for that. It needs to be wild caught. But yeah, so it's the start to how I work every functional case.
Okay, so the flush is what you start with everyone with. It addresses all areas of health, really. Long term, what would you say are like your favorite go-to supplements that people need to be consistently taking?
Yeah. So I base this on really need, because my people have functional issues. So like it's going to vary, and I have to manage like cost, right? So like I could easily say everyone needs a multivitamin, but I'm using Metapure. It's got a lot of what they need. I'm getting the diet diverse. So they probably have, if they have adrenal issues, I'd rather get our Cordy's in, if they're sky high, than put money in a new multi. If someone was super healthy, I think a multivitamin's great. We obviously have one in our line. I think some fish oils are great. We have that in our line. And then honestly, I think, like something to help cortisol or Cordy's couple with bed would just get you deep sleep. That would be a great stack for someone, I think, who is just, wanting to improve their health. I got so many people with so many issues that it really depends on what I use. I mean, I might have to put them on Thyroid boost. Maybe their adrenals are shot and it's low, and they've been stressed so long, and now their cortisol output is low. So now I use our Adrenal Health as a tool. I use licorice root. I use vitamin C to get that to start the adrenal gland to start secreting cortisol in proper response to stress. So there's so many different things that we would have to do. It's very hard for me to put together just a simple stack. But I think those three that I named, if you were pretty darn healthy and you just want to boost up your performance and how you feel, I think those three would be where I would go.
Okay, great. Because I get asked that a lot, and I'm kind of with you. I'm like, it's hard because it's very individualized, but at the same time, like there are some things that everybody can benefit from.
Right.
And I think
given our lifestyle,
Yeah.
most people could benefit from a little Cordy's at night. It's
Exactly. I was
It's gonna
thinking
make
that.
your sleep much deeper. When I had my Aura ring, I don't have it anymore. But when I started taking Cordy's and our Relax, I was getting an extra hour of REM, and I wasn't sleeping more. So I was getting, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. I was sleeping only 6 hours a night, but I was getting a full hour of REM. It usually takes people 8 hours to get that. So I was getting the restorative sleep I needed in 6 hours that takes the average person 8. And that was when I added those. Up to that point, I was only getting 30, 35. And so those supplements like that can really help you get more deep restorative sleep, and you can get more out of less. So if someone can only sleep 6 hours because of their schedule, they got kids getting them up, that's the way it is. Those types of products, are Relax and our Cordy's, would be amazing because you're going to get more out of what you're only able to put in, and you're going to feel deeper rested, less brain fog. A poor night's sleep can start insulin resistance quickly. So all those things can be taken into, but that would be a really great stack if someone just doesn't have more than 6.5 hours that they can get in bed.
So are there like a couple ingredients in those that you like could call out that you really help with the sleep portion?
Yeah, so the phosphatidylserine is a big player in the Cordy's. That helps, phosphatidylserine. And then in the Relax, it's liposomal. So like GABA is in it, and you're going to get a better play for being liposomal, but that GABA helps bring down relaxation. GABA is released extra when you drink booze. So that calming effect from alcohol is that GABA release. Well, that's in our Relax, and that really helps. And then passion flower in there is also really, really helpful. And it's got a little bit of melatonin in it as well.
Okay, very cool. I actually love melatonin, but I always hear like there's so much controversy. Like, you shouldn't take melatonin long term. You can get like addicted to it, blah, blah, blah. But when I take melatonin, it knocks me out.
Yeah, it's a great addition, and it's an antioxidant. So I'm a believer in that you can take it year round. I don't really believe that you develop some huge reliance on it.
Yeah, I never had
I've
problems
just
with
never
it.
seen that.
I haven't either. And like for myself, like I kind of have like an addictive personality. And I never felt like if I didn't take it, that I was like
Yeah.
needing it, or like my sleep was like way different. I just always felt better. And I actually took it when I was pregnant because I had such bad insomnia and I was desperate.
Yep.
And my doctor was like, just take melatonin because you can't really take a lot, obviously, when you're pregnant. And so I just had like a dropper of this like random brand of melatonin that I would take. And I noticed a huge difference.
Yep.
And then after I had my daughter, I was like, wow, I'm going to stay on this because your sleep is obviously so important. I'm such a moody person if I don't get my sleep.
Massively important. I mean, it's one of the things I deal with right away when I'm working a functional case. Like, how are you sleeping? Like, let's improve it. It's one of my questions on my check-in forms. It's so important to get a good night's rest, especially when you're working through issues like gut, inflammation, all those things. Sleep is just, it's paramount.
Yeah. And the
Even
insulin
for fat loss. If you're not sleeping well and you're in a fat loss phase, I find that it affects females worse. Men seem to be able to power through it and their bodies will still respond. But if you're not sleeping well and you're in a fat loss phase, that can really zap your fat loss too. So
I was always like the craziest person, obviously, when I was a bodybuilder with you, because my body like just responded to everything. But I was living off like 4 hours of sleep and I would still like be lean as heck. But I feel like because I was that lean, it was so hard for me to sleep because my hormones were probably just
that's what it was. Your progesterone was gone.
yeah, just gone, like literally non-existent.
Right. And that's a calming hormone, as we talked about before. You need that to kind of counteract with estradiol. So like if your estradiol should be about 100 to 200, you really want your progesterone at 10. It should be about 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. As a quick way to look at your labs for any of your listeners, like if they want to go look and be like, oh, I just had labs ran. So, if you have 120 on your estradiol, then you should be about a 12 on progesterone. So if you go look at it and you're 0.2, you're really relatively estrogen dominant. And so I might start to answer some of your questions on if you got anxiety, if you got issues with your skin, if you aren't sleeping well, stuff like that.
And I'm going to plug your chaseberry.
Chaseberry, I was just going to say it. Yep, liposomal. We got that. And that helps push that.
Is the best.
Yeah.
I actually send that to a ton of people, like any of my friends who have issues with progesterone or ovulating or sleep issues. My massage therapist actually has really bad issues with her progesterone, and I got her on it. And you guys are on Amazon, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we sell on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, because she found it on Amazon. She's like, is this it? And I was like, yep. And so she like has it on like for subscription or something.
Great prescription. Yeah. We did that because here's the thing with Amazon these days, like, if you don't get on it, someone will probably start selling your products, and then it's a pain in the ass to fight them to get it off. So it's like we just got on there. We've been on there probably 5 years now. So it's just like you just gotta do it.
It's just nice because I'm on there too for my skincare line, and some people just really like using Amazon. It's like I order my chaseberry from you on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's the best. Okay, so I want to touch on nutrition a little bit more, just because I know that's like the crux of like your coaching and kind of your passion in terms of like results. So how important do you think nutrition is, first of all? And then like maybe kind of walk me through the way you look at nutrition for the body.
Yep, sure. So, so nutrition's always going to be paramount. I mean, in my, I run what's called, I call it RF3. That's how I work a case. So I rest you, I flush you, and then last, after I feed you up, I look at functions. And functions are where the supplements come in. So that's kind of last on my totem pole of how I work a case, but also how I teach it when I teach Scooby U. So it's rest, flush, feed them up, functions. And so the flush is done right in conjunction with the rest. It's together. And so that is a Mediterranean style plan. And there's so much studies out there that show that's pretty much the best anti-inflammatory diet there is. And so what does that mean though? It's a lot of fish, it's a lot of fruits, berries, vegetables, but the oils are very important. And we're talking extra virgin olive oil, like macadamia nut, coconut, fish oil, all those we're going to have a good amount of omega-3s and push down inflammation. So when I do the first stage of that 2-week anti-inflammatory period, I have fats around 80 for most females, 70 to 80. And that's so I can get enough of those oils in to start bringing down that inflammation. So, berries and fruit have tons of polyphenols and antioxidants, which are going to, again, help bring down inflammation. Obviously, vegetables have tons of antioxidants. And then your fish is also loaded with omega-3s as long as you get the wild caught. So immediately, not only am I hitting you with products that bring inflammation down and push detox, the nutrition is so concentrated on pulling that inflammation down. And that's how I can put someone on 2100, even if they were doing 11, and their body will drop 2, 3, 4 pounds, and they haven't seen the scale budge in, it could be a year or 2 years, and they're like, I don't know how, 2100 calories, drop in 3, 4 pounds, but I love it. I'm here for it, and then they're bought in and they're like, great, now let's work this case. And then after that, usually what I'll do is I'll do like 2 low and 2 high for a bit. So I keep them fed up on the 2100 calories. Now we're moving into really concentrating on the labs, the GI maps, whatever's at wrong. And I keep them around 2100. But what I do is I'll have 2 days of lower carb, maybe 150, 140. Fats are still high. And then I'll have maybe 2 days in a row of maybe 200, 220 carb. Fats maybe come down to 65. Still plenty to get all those oils in. But I'm hitting them with lower days of carbs and then maybe a moderate to high back and forth. So the body is kind of having to, I don't want to say confusion. That's kind of not really true. But in a way it is. I'm bringing you low, then I'm bringing you high. And I'm keeping the body kind of guessing. And then I work the case from there. And that's where the feed up comes in. And that's still a Mediterranean-based diet. I usually remove the fruit juices at that point, but there's still tons of berries, tons of fruit, lots of veggies. I might use a little bit of like jasmine rice or like basmati, little bit of cream of rice or oats, but probably 70% of the carbs are going to come from vegetables and the berries and the fruit. And then I'll use the starchier ones maybe around training. And then we work the case from there. But super important. I couldn't get a result if someone isn't willing to change their nutrition. Supplements alone, and I own a supplement company. I'm here to tell you, a few of them, like Cordy's, you take it at night. You cannot change your diet. That's going to bring your cortisol down. You're going to sleep. But when it really comes to changing the outcome of autoimmune disease, eczema like you have, GI map issues like SIBO, that nutrition has to be changed, and that's part of the lifestyle. And if someone's not willing to do that, I'm not going to like, okay, I could fix your PCOS, but if you go right back to your standard American diet, it's going to come right back.
Yeah.
So nutrition is paramount. It just is.
And you have to be eating whole foods, cooking your foods or ordering from places like MegaFit Meals.
Like MegaFit, yep.
I've been loving their food, by the way. Like,
it's great, isn't it? It's awesome.
Really get it right with like freezing and reheating food usually, and they do. Like, it's
I know,
so
right?
good.
The chicken's great. I'm like, I don't know how they do it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I had a meal before this, and it was like the go-to meal or something. It was like chicken and rice and like broccolini, and it had like a little lemon that I like put on it. Yeah, so good.
Great, right? But for us fast, like paced people or CEOs running businesses, it keeps us on our plans. So yeah.
I know like obviously eating healthy and living healthy is, it is a little more expensive, but you're also saving in the long run because obviously you're hopefully saving medical bills and
100%
and medication and all that. And so for me, it's worth working hard and being able to like pay for convenience a little bit too, because we live in a world now where you can have that. There's always a solution even if you're really busy to like make it work.
So like what we do, like we still cook our breakfast. A lot of times we cook our dinner because we're here, but like in the middle of the day when we're doing check-ins and working, we have all that, and then it just keeps us on track. We just, we can pop it in, warm it up real quick, and boom, now we got a meal. So about 2 or 3 of them a day. So it's not terrible. And then you got your time where you can cook and do your meals, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps.
That's pretty much what I've been doing too. Like I eat my eggs at home in the morning with usually some like organic oatmeal and some fruit or something. I'll have a meal or two during the day, maybe like a protein shake or something, or like Medipure or something like that to like get me out through the afternoon. And then I'll make dinner for like myself and my daughter. And usually it's, protein and some sort of healthy fat and healthy carb and vegetables. And it's just like a lifestyle, but it can be hard at first, obviously, for people to like give up the soda and to swap out the fast food. But once you start feeling better, that's when you like really buy in. Tell my viewers how they can get a hold of you and where they can find you.
Great. So the website is scoobyhealth.com. Like I said, I coach still myself, but I have 13 people under me that are all educated, been through my Scooby U. They're great. They're going to be a little more easily priced, I guess, for if you want to look into that. But I'm there as well. And then Instagram is Jason Theobald. The last name is TheoBald _Scooby Health. And then we do have a Scooby Health Instagram where all the coaches get to post their stuff, and you can look that up as well. I think it's just Scooby Health. It might have an underscore at the end, but I think if you put Scooby Health in, you'll find it.
Awesome. If you're listening, make sure you follow Jason and make sure you follow Scooby Health because he is incredible. His team is incredible. I'm always sending people your way, and I trust you with anybody because you've gotten me through so many chapters of my life and all kinds of different health things, and I'm just really grateful for your services. So thank you so much for being here with me today and having a talk. I know we're going to meet again in person soon, so I can't wait to do that as well and talk more and deep dive into more functional health.
Sounds good.
But yeah.
And then if anyone's interested, real quick, Advanced Vitality HRT is the hormone clinic, and then New Ethics is newethics.com is the supplement site. I forgot to say that.
Yes, New Ethics has great supplements, and Advanced Vitality is incredible. That's where I get my BPC 157. Is that also where I get my low dose naltrexone? Yep. Yeah, I get it through there too. So definitely check out all of his resources. Like I said, Jason is awesome. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yep, I appreciate it too.
Jason. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, be loud, be proud, and be shameless.
For more information, visit us at anskinbeauty.com to shop all our medical grade skincare,